Yeah. Yeah, it's also the workshop idea. It's that kind of psychoeducational teaching, kind of, as well as that experiential. So that's what I want to get my teeth into, is that kind of experiential working with people.
But remember, one of the things that we spoke about, Sue, was, you know, you've been working, I mean, I don't know how busy your private practice is, but you've been working in kind of in commercial settings. So you've been working within schools and colleges for many, many years.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity to actually break into an area of the market which is both demanding, but there's also there's a need for anger management, which means that you slip into a already created industry which will support two things. One is your lifestyle, whereby you become your own boss and you're only accountable to yourself. And the other is where you make enough money to support yourself and develop your business. So could you just say a little bit more about that? I know I'm not being very articulate, but I remember that was...
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, as you say, I've been in education for many years, and I guess that it's hard work. You know, it's hard work. There's a lot of politics. The government throw more and more quality controls at you, so you end up spending more time with the paperwork than actually with your students. I might lose my frame of...
That's okay.
Okay. So what I've wanted to do for a long time, what I've wanted to do is to just set myself up in my own practice, looking at consulting work, looking at training work, and also private counselling, supervision, etc., etc. So that's always been an idea for me. I've never actually managed to do it. I think between being a single parent and wanting to cling on to what I've got to for the sake of the kids, you know, I've got to keep it going, I've never actually stepped off of that kind of treadmill. What the leaflet, when it plopped on the doormat, did for me was to make me think, this is not so risky. Risky is probably not the right word. It's not so scary as just stepping off and going, right, that's me now. Yeah, is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
it kind of, again, it comes back to that community, that kind of, the established kind of group behind you or with you. Yeah, and being able to do it in a way that focuses totally on the welfare of other people. Yeah, you know, in education now, it's kind of, we've got all these experiential programs, but you still have to tick the boxes. So therefore you're not free agent in some way. The more I work on myself, the deeper I go, the more I'm able to hold. So the intensity sometimes of the one-to-one can be, and it's kind of, as you're saying, and it's just me there with the person who's chosen to come and work. With the group, again, it's more, I was going to say passionate, but I don't know whether that's the right word. I enjoy watching the process in groups. I enjoy watching the way that people will kind of actually come together, and I think it's a bit what you're saying. It's like there's a whole, you know, there's a bunch of people who will actually support that space, which then leaves me free in some ways to kind of be able to bounce off them. I mean, I guess I was coming in from it with a different sort of frame, really, but it was, I felt excited by the programme. I was kind of, you know, I was a participant for sure, and learned more about my anger, my relationship with anger. So there was the participant, but there was also this part that was just kind of just watching with a view to thinking, can I do this, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I found it exciting. What amazed me, and what amazes me is how all of those guys kind of come together and they haven't got a clue what's going to happen, and probably some of them have never spoken about some of that stuff they talk about in there, you know, the more kind of vulnerable side of them. And At the beginning I remember thinking, nah, no way, that person's not going to go there. And yet each individual member did. And that's something about the power of the material and the way that it's given over. It's not in your face, this is what you've got to do. It's more that kind of holding and kind of sneaks in through the back way, really. As I say, there was a particular point when people they were talking about violence, etc., which I know kind of tapped into my own stuff. And I did kind of go away thinking, but then coming back the next day and seeing people take a lot of risk, I think. By the end of the weekend, I felt like I knew them all quite well. And felt very fond of them. You know, it was like what happens when you see that other side of people. You know, and yeah, sure, I've still got my stuff that I need to work on. I started off being empathic because I guess that's my where I start from usually is with that kind of understanding, an empathic kind of understanding. And then because of my own stuff getting triggered, I kind of went and stopped being so empathic. And then it was like coming back round again. Seeing people open their heart, I suppose. Seeing people get beyond the anger and into kind of, the vulnerability. Being honest. You know, there was one guy there who was incredibly honest. And actually, he was somebody, I think for me, because of his honesty, I felt okay with all, when I kind of went off, sorry I'm rambling here, but when I kind of felt affected, it wasn't him, he didn't affect me at all because of his honesty. And I think the other guys kind of gradually came round to being honest and open with what was going on. Is that making any sense?
Yeah,
at all?
So it's
but each person goes at their own pace. It's not like, this is slapped on them and they've got to do this. It kind of, each person finds their own pace, their own pace, really. The try before you buy, if you like, was what stood out for me was that I felt confident that I could run a training. Yeah. I have a lot of experience, but I kind of needed to come in and see what goes on. And I was aware a lot of going, oh yeah, I could do that, and I might do that a little bit, but it was okay. It was so that was really significant for me. And for me, I suppose it was also remembering that, underneath that anger, underneath that kind of hard exterior is something different. Excitement, fear. I feel excited about becoming part of that whole, part of the process, part of the franchise. I feel excited about that.